Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. This channel is an organic amalgamation for searching, seeking, and finding the truth in this chaotic, confusing, and disruptive world we live in today. I got a story for you that's coming straight out of the Metro East, out of East St. Louis, where a former East St. Louis librarian director was sentenced to prison and accused of embezzling over $100,000 from the East St. Louis library. So, when I think of a librarian, I think of a quiet, smart, kind person who cares about academics, learning, children, reading, etc. A librarian kind of reminds me of a personality like a nun back in the day, of a Catholic school or church. Here again, a nun, a smart, quiet, God-fearing person who cares about the children and the community. This story surprises me. Would be like if you heard that a nun was stealing from your church or your school. That would have shocked the hell out of me, hearing some kind of story. So when you think of a librarian, you think that'd be the last person that would have a criminal mind, or who would think that they are going to pilferage from the library or the community. A library is part of the health and welfare of a community. You're talking about grocery stores, banks. When you're building a community, you're talking about schools. And of course, a library in that community is a healthy, good thing. And so the last thing you want to do is hire people at your library to stealing books or stealing other items that you could necessarily pick out and use with your library card. You would never think that the director or the librarian, who's the face of the library, would be the person that would be actually pilfering from the library monetary fund. So when you get these stories of stealing and theft, the stealing and theft stories, they have a certain piety, callousness, brazenness of the person committing the crime, that they either don't care if they get caught, or there's a duality going on where this person thinks they are so smart to get away with stealing, yet they are so dumb when you hear of the story on how they got caught. So they're either narcissistic and arrogant, don't care when they commit this stealing and theft crime in this digital technological footprint we have today. I don't understand how somebody thinks they can get away with stealing from a company, a corporation, from the government, from a library. They have this certain arrogance and hubris about themselves, a certain piety. Yet, when they get caught, when you hear the story, it seems like, God, this was one of the dumbest things that they could have thought about doing, and it's obvious that they will get caught. So there's a duality going on there. So let's get into this story. So, a former East St. Louis library director sentenced for embezzlement. And remember, as I said to you before, you do not want felony convictions or like murder. You definitely don't want felony convictions for stealing and theft on your record. That will carry with you for the rest of your life. It is going to limit, once you do the crime and then you do the time, and once you get out, it's going to limit your access to employment with a theft, embezzlement, or stealing case on your jacket. So, a federal judge sentenced Kenyatta T. Harris, 42 years old, the former director of the East St. Louis Public Library. And it being in this area, St. Louis Metro East area, we all know this. East St. Louis is dilapidated, it's depressing to a certain degree, very similar to North St. Louis and St. Louis. The last place that they need somebody stealing from any of their monetary funds, state or federal funded agencies. They're already a city that's on broken ground. So to take advantage of an already broken city, you have to be a very, very arrogant and callous person. So the former director of the East St. Louis Public Library was sentenced to 15 months in prison after she admitted to embezzling more than $100,000 from both. She did this to two separate places, and what I would consider city or state governmental agencies. She stole more than $100,000 from both the library and the Illinois Department of Human Services. So for her to only get 15 months, she got a kiss in the mouth, and it's just a slap on the wrist. The guilty plea here's the guilty plea. So for Miss Kenyatta Harris, pleaded guilty in March 2026 to 8 counts of wire fraud, theft from federally funded programs, that makes it a federal crime, and bank fraud. All those 3 charges, she only got 15 months. She's lucky. She had previously been indicted in August 2024 on several of the charges by a federal grand jury. So here are the 2 schemes. Kenyatta Harris's criminal conduct spanned 2 separate government jobs. At the Illinois Department of Human Services between March 2022 and March 2023, in 1 year, Harris was employed as a public aid eligibility assistant at the St. Clair County Family Community Resource Center through the Illinois Department of Human Services. So she's supposed to be helping people. Prosecutors say she used link cards for herself, family members, and friends while employed there. She was in charge of replacing stolen, lost, or damaged link cards that low-income people use to get food and cash. Assistance benefits. Prosecutors say Ms. Harris used 98 of those link cards for her personal gain, taking over $10,000 from the Illinois Department of Human Services. Over $10,000. So now that's the first scheme with the Department of Human Services. And at the East St. Louis Public Library, this is right after that, around March 2023, Kenyatta Harris began working at the East St. Louis City Library as the library director. So she's got 2 big positions over there in Illinois. She must know some people, or she must be in the right place and have the right connections, because she followed that up working for the Illinois Department of Human Services, and now she's the library director at East St. Louis. So from July 31st, 2023 through June 6th, 2024, she knowingly used the library's credit card to make personal purchases, including paying for her personal vehicle repairs and obtaining cash advances. Her actions resulted, now listen to this is what's unfortunate, in a city that's already burdened with financial issues, people moving away out of East St. Louis, suburban movement, suburban sprawl. Her actions resulted in the loss to the East St. Louis Public Library of almost $100,000. We're talking $91,937. That city, let alone that library, cannot afford a $9 loss. And we need those schools. We need that library. We need those kids going to the library. I tell kids all the time, you can get in trouble at a nightclub, but you can't get in trouble at a library if you're there reading and doing the things that you need to do. Good people are at the library. And anytime that you get an opportunity to learn something, the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. So the scheme, in addition to 15 months in prison, Ms. Harris was ordered to serve 2 years on supervised release following imprisonment, and to pay $102,249 in restitution. Well, with a theft and a stealing and an embezzlement jacket charge and conviction, it's going to be hard for her to find a job, not only to take care of herself after she does the time. It's going to be hard for her to definitely pay this $102,249 in restitution. She's going to have to get a job just paying over $100,000. Who's going to offer somebody a job for $100,000 when they've been convicted, a federal conviction for stealing, theft, or embezzlement? She's going to be in a tight box, and it's going to be tough for her moving forward. So what officials said about this, U.S. Attorney Stephen Weinholt stated, those who abuse a position of trust and steal taxpayer funds must be held accountable. Public resources belong to the community, not to those who believe they are above the law. So tell me what you think. This is another unfortunate story about somebody stealing, theft, or embezzlement she was a library director, and it's, like I said, East St. Louis, North St. Louis, many of our urban cities that are primarily black are already suffering with dilapidated buildings, with people with urban sprawl, people moving out when they get an opportunity, the first opportunity they can see. We need our libraries, we need healthy schools, we need a healthy police force, fire department, and for her to steal from, as being a library director, and to steal from her own library, six figures, we're talking over 100,000. It's very unfortunate. She's lucky that she only has to do 2 years or 15 months in prison. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.